You also brought up the live results, so I got a little video queued up of where those young men finished. All right, you want to go top left to and work our way around?
Yeah.
So, De, DeChambeau.
Yeah. Never. I mean, like I said, I knew he wasn't going to end up winning. Top six probably, exceeds what he thought he was going to do as well. I mean, best result since his amateur debut or whatever they were saying. I mean, honestly, honest to God, for him to still be under par, I think that's a feat in itself because you saw it in the second round. He shot 73, and it was kind of like, oh, like it could go downhill. And then it really didn't go downhill like we thought. It was just a simple 75 on Saturday. And then for him to
Mm-hmm.
maintain it and shoot even par today, that's okay for him. John Rahm, there I don't think he has an excuse. I felt like the hangover from him winning, and I think, he had plenty of time to relax, especially since he's not playing as many events. The family is always near him. It's not like he had any excuses with that. Um, yeah,
No, he should
T45
have.
and over par, just
That's just poor. That's just
right.
really
You the
poor on
number
his
three
end,
player in the world.
and I think coming off the heels of him um, making some public statements about changing the format of live. Very
Yeah.
interesting, comments, because I think that if week in week out you're playing events, which they played in Miami last week, you're not getting prepared for weeks like this week, right? Tough conditions. You're playing in Miami. Um, the weather was a factor here in Augusta this week. So
Yeah.
are you really getting prepared? That's It's just hard to question that.
Very
So
true.
Rom T45, super disappointing, right?
Yeah. For everybody involved. Like it doesn't matter if you're a liver, a golf fan, a Rom fan, whatever. T45 for John Rahm, number three golfer in the world, not good. Bubba, expected. DJ, not expected. I didn't think DJ
Bro,
would get cut. I definitely thought he'd
how
make the
bad
cut.
it was.
It very much so like the last golfer type stuff. Like, I mean, he shot what 78 the first day and then, went 80 into the
79.
80s. Oh,
Or did he go 78, 79? Because he's plus 13. So let me, yeah.
yeah,
So either way,
78, 79.
yeah.
Not 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 what I was expecting out of him. Phil, at this age, he made the cut. Congrats to him. So, that's all I got for Lefty because he's not doing jack shit and live. So for him to still compete and know his way around here, Mr. Three-time jacket winner, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I think
Um,
there's some credence to the kind of knowing the lay of the land, right? It's kind of how we saw
yep,
Tiger navigate throughout the week, despite physically not being there. So I think that applies to Phil as well.
definitely. Definitely. Brooks, I mean, I thought he could have been a sleeper pick. I thought he could have at least pushed the top 20 out of this, if not a top 10. But it just never really came to fruition. Even the first day, you could just, and I didn't really want to say you could tell because I couldn't. I felt like Brooks Koepka would have figured it out at some point in the round on the first day, with it being pretty windy but not too windy, with the flight of his golf ball and him being able to come out of a certain window and a certain trajectory. I thought he would fared pretty well. And then in the conditions the next day, I thought he would have like rounded it out, especially since it being very similar, pretty much the same wind, and in the same conditions, except the fairways were a little bit more run, the greens were a little bit more in better condition. So yeah, T45, he made the cut. He outshined Wyndham Clark, who just could not be quiet for once in his life, and ended up getting his mouth getting hushed by Brooks Koepka, who went T45. So, you know,
Yeah.
mm, anyways,
Yeah.
Meronk,
Yeah.
this is his first one. I didn't think
But
much out of
again,
him.
I didn't think
I
he
don't.
would do much, but I also didn't think he would be 14 over though. You know,
I
and
mean, yeah and
I
no.
had a
I mean,
here's my thought. You can feel free to disagree with this thought process. I could be looking at this way too deeply. When it comes to live, there's this sense of instant gratification, right? Meronk has had a good couple of years leading up to this year, didn't make the Ryder Cup or wasn't
yeah,
selected as a captain's pick, kind of bucked back and said, you know what? That's what drove me over to live. He has said that. So you get paid whatever he got paid from the live group, and then you end up in the Masters as a invite. Here you go. I think it's a little early for him to be there in that position, and this comes with not necessarily. Clearly, he was given a spot to play, but he hasn't been through a lot of trials and tribulations as a pro, right? He's won on
yeah,
the DP World Tour, hasn't really competed on Live at all since he's went over there, and never won, and really had much, many starts on the PGA Tour. So he's not really week to week gone against the best and brightest in the world of golf. And I think this
yeah,
is what that shows, right? You
yeah,
show up to with the big boys and you're in that environment on this incredibly hard course. I mean, I get it. The delayed start on Thursday was tough on everybody, just pushed everything back. Got a little bit windy on day two, but still somewhat manageable, right?
yeah,
But you saw him really struggling out there, and I think this is a result of that, right? You just don't have the reps to go
yeah,
compete on this level. That's just my take on it. When I saw how badly he had played, that's the
yeah.
first thing that came to mind for him specifically. And also just I think I said this last week, at least for DJ, that if he's the one guy, DJ's the one guy that if the Live and PGA came back together and he was required to play a certain amount of weeks, that he'd be like deuces. I don't know, man. Dude just seems completely disinterested in golf at this point with that
DJ.
performance. That's yeah, DJ.
I think DJ is still. I think DJ still likes golf. I just think that he's completely shifted what he values in life now, and I think again respectable enough. The only one that was willing to go out and say immediately, "This is why I went over there," and it be honest. I think that's why I think that's still another reason why I fuck with DJ. Excuse my language. But question for you on Meronk though. For Meronk,
Mm-hmm.
do you think being rocked like this and being in such an indecisive moment amongst what you felt like was what could have been a glorifying moment and then having to be relinquished to this and now you're on a different tour because you just couldn't make up your mind to keep fighting or you just took the short route out, do you think that this ultimately messes up him mentally? Do you think he ever recovers from this? Do you think that he fights back to become somewhat of a prime golfer and can win on the big stage? Do you think he has any majors in him, whether it be through qualifying or through the merger, where the PGA, DP, and everything comes back in the next few
I
years?
don't know.
He's still mid 20s, he's still
Yeah,
young,
so
but when you go through something like this early mentally, I don't
eh,
know if there's a recovery button to this.
I mean
The
it's
professional
not
game is so mental.
I know I get that, but I also know it's only 2 rounds at the end of the day, right? So he's not. It's not like he had to be subjected to 4 full rounds of pure ass beating. And there's a certain, I don't know, gravitas that comes with feeling like like having the confidence to go take the money and say, "Hey, look, I didn't make the Ryder Cup." That he felt slighted, right? He felt good enough to make the Ryder Cup team, didn't get it, said, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to go play on this league and, earn it that way. However, whatever avenues that are available to him. So I don't think this is that. I wouldn't read too deeply into it, right? He's got opportunities and a lot of, years left to get it back. And there's no denying his talent. Now, the tough part is, I think if he's like a guy like a Neiman, who goes out there and gets opportunities and starts on the tour that still has full competition, that it's an opportunity, right, for him to kind of build up his competitive muscles a little bit more, if that makes sense. So I'm not gonna read too much into it. So Cam
Yeah.
Smith, T9, calm down, bro. It's just the internet. T9 for Cam Smith, respectable, but not. I don't know. Like his fastball isn't the
I think,
fastest, right?
yeah, like I don't think he exceeded his potential at this tournament, but I also thought he would do better. Like I don't know how else to say that. Like I thought Cam Smith would perform more, but I also see that T9 is a damn good time for him. Same with
Yeah,
Joaquin
I
Neiman,
mean,
same with Patrick Reed, and then
so
I like
let's
what you
pause. But just because there's some stories that we have that are associated with some of these folks, right? So let's
agreed.
not. So T12 for Pat Reed. He is on the 5th year of his 5-year exemption. So we know as
Right.
a winner of the Masters in 2018, he'll be able to play the Masters for his entire life.
Yeah.
The downside is that this is the last year for his other major exemptions at year 5.
Yeah.
So he's going to really need, unless, again, some tour reunification happens,
The
and then
Asian
being
tour
able
will
to
be all right
compete.
for him.
He's been playing pretty, quietly. He sneaks into a lot of events to get
Yeah.
world ranking points. Unfortunately for P. Reed, he's not done a really good job of competing in these alternative events either. So he's
Right, to
kind
get
of at
more
a point
points.
where, exactly, where he's not moving up the world rankings. I mean, these would require him to win some of these events.
Hmm.
So he's leaning on this year being able to squeeze out some kind of major win or top 5 or something, right, for future invites. So usually, if you can get in the top 5, you can get the next year's invite. So T12 respectable. I think his game typically he's able. I think he plays a bit of a tighter draw than someone. I don't know. When you look
Yeah.
at drawers of the ball, he can
Course is
stay
set
in
up for people.
fairways at the Masters, right? Exactly. And
Course is set
so
up for people, and Patrick Reed is a ball striker. You can't take that away from
yeah,
Paul. You can't take that away from Patrick Reed. He might be a cheat, but the ball striking is not cheated. He will always be a ball striker, and he will always be able to play that draw wherever he wants. And that is, again, that is respectable. I love that about P. Reed. But, I just don't know if he has the guns to, go out there and win again and get the world ranking points to get back exempt into some of these more elite fields. But that's just,
yeah.
to me, that's just what it is.
Yeah, when he was on the PGA Tour, he was the villain, right? And that kind of
Yeah.
drove his competitive fire. You can tell he's a competitor from his Ryder Cup days. Now he's a villain amongst other villains on the LIV Tour, right? They've taken a lot of the most disliked players and brought them over to LIV, which we'll get to at the very last stop here in terms of attitudes and just demeanor. So P. Reed really trying to scratch it out, or we're going to stop seeing him in these majors outside of the Masters here really soon. This is
Yeah.
the last year for him. Sergio, and the story behind this photo is actually me scrolling through Twitter this week and seeing Sergio posting this particular photo saying that the Live Boys were going to go get a major or go get the Masters. I want to
Mm.
be accurate on what I say. I don't want to misquote him and then have somebody jump in the comments, but I want to get the exact quote here. Give me
Yeah.
one sec.
And good on Greg Norman for making it out to Augusta somehow. He figured out a way to get him a ticket. He made it onto the property because he had to support his live guys, and I appreciate that, man. Shout out to Greg Norman
Had,
for trying to be a good boss.
had to buy his tickets on the retail market for all 4 days.
Yeah.
There was another comment from Greg Norman that almost made me throw up in my mouth this morning. So, um, the quote that Sergio put out with this picture was, "We're coming for that green jacket." Didn't quite work out the way didn't quite compete in the way that he thought. Charles Schwartzel, lifetime exemption, Masters winner, also cut, and then Tyrrell Hatton. The Tyrrell Hatton stick to me is getting a bit old, man. I just don't. He acted a fool ass on the second round of the tournament. A lot of cussing, a lot of the histrionics and just over the top drama. Um, he's a super talented player. Enjoy watch. He hits golf shots, but this over the top drama, he was able to. He said, respect of Tiger. Again, dude still moves the needle. Um, was able to behave himself when he played with Tiger in round three. What do you think about the whole, Tyrrell Hatton over the top personality deal?
I feel like the meme is over with now. I feel like it's honestly just, it's expired. I feel like, he needs to move on to greener pastures. I feel like he needs to find something else to rely on besides this brat deal. But if that's what gets him up for events, this self-deprecating stuff that he wants to say and be all exaggerated about, so be it. But just, kind of keep that within your window, kind of keep that within your bubble because, it's just not always fun to see. And then, like, it's just like this is one thing that we can all, as golfers, amateur, professional, any kind of level, when you're in a playing partnership and you're in a group and somebody's over, you know, 10 feet away from you and they're talking about, I suck, I can't do this, what is going on? At some point in the round, you're going to get annoyed, whether you know the guy or not. So when you're on a stage where you're on TV week in and week out on whatever, tour it may be, and you get this every week and you see this in every pairing, it's kind of like at an expired point. So to me, it's just a little bit disappointing that he has not matured and moved on. But again, if that is what you're getting paid to do and they're still getting, a lot of entertainment out of this, then go on about your business, Turo. But to me, it is
Yeah.
definitely past its expiration date.
I think the quote that messed with me about it was that he said, "When am I going to come to this place and get the breaks that I deserve?" That's the one quote that stood out to me as that made me call him a brat. And
Yeah,
that just is complete. You don't deserve anything, right? You
right,
don't get any breaks as a result. If you again, these greens are slick. They kept referring to them. They're getting crunchy. They have the shine on them. You got to stick the ball close. You got to go in with a lot of spin here, right? We saw
right.
Scotty bringing it in high, getting spin, hitting the right areas of the green. That these things aren't just given to you because you feel like you played well. The course is going to give you what you get a lot of stuff out of this channel, y'all. A little business knowledge, a little technical golf knowledge, a little BS in here and there. You're in a well-rounded environment. So, uh,
Absolutely.
hit that subscribe button, hit that membership button. We got you covered on all things golf.